My grandpa said white men are oppressed. Just as the title says, my grandfather said white men are oppressed. This was a year or two ago, so my memory is a little off. But I distinctly remember my grandfather not getting a promotion at his job, due to some other issues I won't get into. A black woman got the promotion instead. My grandfather, in all his racist, Republican, Texan glory, told me that they have a quota to fill. They gave her that promotion because they had to. It comes down to one simple thing. White men are oppressed. I walked out of the room just so I could laugh. I wanted to tell him that he is the reason that a quota even exists at his workplace. Unfortunately, I didn't. He was forced into retirement and is now focusing his time on drinking himself to his grave. Edit: I was missing a key detail, so sorry folks. I should add that my grandpa has worked as a very high-ranking person in the company for over 40 years. I can't go into much detail due to where he worked. Only in the sense that all workers are oppressed by the rich. White men are oppressed in the sense that they are part of the working class. We're all being crushed by capitalism, even if it's worse for some than others. All working class people are oppressed. Slavery was never abolished. It was merely changed to include all the colors. Charles Bukowski. The rich oppress everyone, no matter what ethnicity you are at this point. What they really like to do is plant fake outrage against specific groups, so we focus on said group. Also, the wealthy can keep acting like crazy cat ladies. I certainly won't say white men are oppressed. But I will say that poor whites are feeling the full brunt of capitalism now, and they get to experience it as it destroys everything they love. Everyone is oppressed except the rich. They are oppressed, depressed, and suicidal. A lifetime of privilege and shelter from minorities' competition makes them feel powerless. The way a quota works is that only some of the jobs must be filled by minorities, meaning the majority are still open to old white guys. He lost his job to other old white guys but refuses to admit it. This is like failing to get a ticket to see Oppenheimer and then blaming the theater for putting a third of its seats to Barbie. The real problem is a society that values and compensates people solely by the rank of their employment. My brother in Christ, we are all oppressed by the elite. He's right, for the wrong reason. We're all oppressed if we're in the working class. I would say most people are oppressed, even white men. PPL have to fit into bad culture, otherwise they are rebels. There comes a point where we need to stop and say that relatively speaking things may not be so bad for white men. But it can be difficult for anybody to cope. If I go walking down the street singing and dancing, I would feel pretty weird about it because I would practically be a crazy person. But if I pent it all up and drive myself crazy about it, is normal. I mean, he's not technically wrong. Literally everyone these days are being oppressed. It's just a matter of degrees. How much is he a man who was born and raised with all the economic advantages of white boomers? Oppressed compared to a Gen Z black kid raised with only one parent on government assistance in a gangland-occupied dystopian inner city? Is he being oppressed by the current economic and social systems? Sure he is. But compared to most of the rest of us, his level of oppression is set on easy mode. My last supervisor got promoted to that position because he was black. How do I know? The manager, who was another black man, told me so, and that he would always look to promote black people. The reason he felt comfortable telling me is because I am Sri Lankan. But I get mistaken for Jamaican a lot. Positive discrimination does exist. Is it prevalent as negative discrimination? Probably not, but I don't have data to say with conviction. My view is, Everyone gets fucked at work unless you are top one. Shit rolls downhill. It would be interesting to know the context or if he explained it. It could be in his mind he is recalling how he thinks affirmative action stole his job or took him out of the running for a spot in a good college. It could be he grew up poor. I'm not defending him, but being poor is being oppressed. That's the problem with your generation, always looking for a handout. Equality feels like oppression if you're used to privilege. Quotas are bad emo, because they give way to exactly that line of reasoning. It's the worst way to campaign against racism. Diversity hires tax breaks. This is an unarguable fact. And it is inherently racist. Based grandpa. Common men are oppressed. Elite men are hiding yet oppressing. Colors are just a decoy. Your race doesn't matter. If you're poor, you're trampled on. Everyone is oppressed by the wealthy. So, people higher up than him decided they didn't want him around anymore, maybe because of the racism. And dumped that old bitch. Good riddance. Maybe grandpa is a victim of age discrimination. If you white and you life is crap, it's not due to your skin color. Remind me again which ethnicities, genders, and sexual orientations are socially acceptable to hate? Oh, right. He's not wrong though, to an extent. Many companies do prioritize hiring or promoting anyone instead of white men. Not all, but most. It looks good for their stats that they can see X amount of people at the company are a minority and that Y amount of staff are women. He's not wrong. Middle-aged, middle-class white man here. Your grandpa is full of crap. Various programs, laws, etc., guaranteeing rights to various sexes, minorities, and so on are not giving anybody special rights. Nor do they take them away from white men. They are trying to get everyone up to the same level, and that they are necessary speaks poorly of our society. What your grandpa is complaining about isn't oppression. It's not having special privileges and or oppressing others. Stay on his good side, be in that will. Equality feels like oppression if you've been the beneficiary of massive inequality your whole life. Basically, what has happened is that his socio-economic status has dropped, and he feels disenfranchised. He's no longer benefiting from the old system. Things have changed, and he's bitter. He has no special advantage in a meritocratic system. BTW. That doesn't mean a meritocratic system isn't any less harsh on the average worker. It just means the victims and the victors are different. BTW. This also explains the popularity of Trump. There is a large segment of the white population that wants things to return to 1955. He meant depressed. He is oppressed, but he's attributing it to the wrong thing. Much as our overlords intend. Sowing division along race, gender, etc. among workers to redirect the blame when someone feels that boot heel of unfettered capitalists crushing their windpipe. In your grandpa situation, it's not that white me are oppressed. It likely ageism that's at play. Or at least at play even subconsciously. Forgot to mention the part where you said your grandpa is a jackass. He's right. It's a typical thing, particularly from that generation. Many years ago, I applied to literally one college that I knew I did not have the scores to get into. There was no way I'd ever be accepted. When my grandma found out, she blamed quotas and affirmative action. No, Grandma, I have largely untreated ADHD and have absolutely no interest in school. The superiority complex. It's not imaginable that a minority or woman could outperform a white man. I've yet to hear or see a white male say they deserved that or they worked hard when a minority or woman is promoted over them.